She didn't reject you, she erased you. You operated under the delusion that being the nice guy was the honorable path, the strategy of the righteous. You offered your unwavering attention, your endless availability, your constant validation, believing it was a currency that would eventually be redeemed for affection and respect. You were the 2 a.m. phone call, the shoulder to cry on, the reliable emotional janitor cleaning up the messes left by men who actually intrigued her. And for your service, you were paid in the coldest currency of all, polite indifference. You were given a pat on the head while she chased the thrill of the unpredictable, the challenge of the man who offered her nothing but his own self-interest. Let this truth sear itself into your mind. She didn't leave you for a better man. She left you because, in the brutal calculus of attraction, you had made yourself a utility, not a man. A resource to be consumed, not a power to be reckoned with. Do you remember the feeling? That hollow, sickening dread coiling in your gut as you stared at your phone, the screen a blank monument to your insignificance. Waiting for a reply. Rereading your last message, dissecting every word, torturing yourself with the possibility that your eagerness was the poison that killed the interaction. Then, the fatal mistake, the follow-up text. That weak, transparent attempt to appear casual, a desperate probe into the deafening silence. Her lack of response wasn't an oversight, it was a statement, a declaration of your priority level, 0. You were not a mystery she was eager to solve. You were an open book she had skimmed and found utterly forgettable. She wasn't busy. She was actively demonstrating your place in her hierarchy, and it was somewhere beneath her dry cleaning. Picture the scene, the one that replays in your mind in the dead of night. You're in a crowded room, and you see her. She's not just talking to him, she's orbiting him. Her entire being, her laughter, her attention, is a gravitational force pulling her closer to him. You, standing just feet away, are a ghost in the machine, a piece of the furniture. You try to catch her eye, and for one agonizing second, you succeed. But what you see in her gaze is the final verdict. There is no spark of intrigue, no flicker of shared history. Just a vacant, polite nod, a social courtesy afforded to a stranger, before her attention snaps back to him, the man who holds her focus effortlessly. In that single, soul-crushing moment, the power dynamic is laid bare for you to see. You are the audience. He is the main event. You are the supplicant praying for a glance. He is the prize. The great German pessimist, Arthur Schopenhauer, would have viewed your suffering not with sympathy, but with the cold precision of a surgeon. He understood a fundamental law of the human condition that you learned through pure agony. Human desire, what he termed the will, is not a rational force. It is a blind, striving, insatiable engine of craving, and this will does not value what is easily obtained. It does not respect what is freely given. In fact, it holds it in contempt. The will thrives on resistance. It obsesses over obstacles. It fixates on what it cannot have. As Schopenhauer so perfectly articulated, what is firmly denied is desperately desired. You spent your time offering her a feast, and in doing so, you revealed you were willing to let yourself starve. You denied her nothing, and so she desired nothing from you. Schopenhauer also made an observation that cuts to the core of your failure. A man can be himself only so long as he is alone. In your desperate campaign for her approval, you had completely abandoned yourself. You became a chameleon, a shapeshifter, a mirror reflecting a distorted version of what you thought she wanted to see. And when she looked at you, she saw nothing real, nothing solid, nothing worth conquering. But what if this brutal philosophical truth is not a death sentence, but a blueprint for a weapon? What if you could stop being the supplicant and become the denial itself? What if you could meticulously engineer her desire by strategically withdrawing the one thing you gave away so freely? Your presence, your attention, your validation? This is not about playing childish games. This is about understanding the fundamental physics of psychological power and rewriting the laws to serve you. It is about a radical transformation, from the man who begs for her attention to the man whose silence is so profound, it becomes the only thing she can hear. Stay with me, and I will give you the tactical manual to make your absence a haunting presence in her mind, a void that she will become pathologically obsessed with filling. Before we weaponize this philosophy, a command. Subscribe to Psychological Dominion and activate all notifications, because you cannot afford to miss a single transmission. Drive your thumb into the like button as a declaration of intent, a commitment to never being a doormat again. And in the comments, I want you to name it. Describe the exact moment you felt your power stripped away by another person. No euphemisms. No sugarcoating. We are here to analyze the anatomy of defeat so we can engineer absolute victory. Let us perform the autopsy. We must be cold. We must be clinical. There is no room for sentiment in this examination room. Only the stark, undeniable truth of your strategic failure. Your defeat was not a single catastrophic event. It was a creeping disease. A series of small, unexamined surrenders that led to a total collapse of your authority. You didn't just lose her. You meticulously handed her the instruments to erase you, one concession at a time. The process began long before she ignored your text. It began with the first test. Every interaction is a test. A probe of your boundaries, a measure of your self-regard. She tested. You yielded. She won. Do you remember it? It was likely something trivial. She was running late, and you waited without complaint. She changed plans at the last minute, and you accommodated her instantly, grateful for any scrap of her time. She made a joke at your expense, and you laughed along, afraid that any protest would label you as too serious. Each of these was a minor skirmish in the war for respect, and you waved the white flag every single time. You believed you were being agreeable, flexible, nice. What you were actually communicating was that your time had no value, your plans were disposable, and your dignity was negotiable. Schopenhauer observed that the will is a relentless force, always pushing, always seeking to expand its dominion. By offering no resistance, you invited her will to completely overwhelm your own. You taught her that she could take your ground without a fight, and she learned the lesson perfectly. From this first concession, the infection of weakness spread. The next stage was the loss of control. You began to operate within her frame, not your own. Your schedule, your emotional state, your very sense of self-worth became contingent upon her. You stopped suggesting plans that aligned with your passions, and instead tried to guess what she might want to do. You were no longer the architect of your own life, inviting her in. You were a hopeful applicant, waiting to see if you would be granted an interview. This is the subtle shift from a man of substance to a man of service. You became predictable. Your eagerness was a constant, a given. And in the brutal marketplace of attraction, what is always available is always devalued. The man who is a challenge, the man whose time and attention must be earned, is the man who occupies her thoughts. You, by contrast, became background noise, reliable, pleasant, and utterly unexciting. Then came the desperate, corrosive search for validation. This is the stage where your actions are no longer performed for their own sake, but for the reaction they might provoke in her. You sent the good morning text not as a genuine sentiment, but as a probe, an attempt to gauge her temperature. You posted a picture on social media not because you were proud of the moment, but because you were compulsively checking to see if she had viewed it. Your every move became a question. Do you see me? Do you approve? Am I worthy of your attention? This is the behavior of a supplicant, not a sovereign. You outsourced your self-esteem to a person who had already demonstrated she had little respect for you. Schopenhauer would see this as a perversion of the will. Instead of your will driving you toward your own goals, you had chained it to the task of begging for validation from another's. You had made her the gatekeeper of your own happiness, a position of power she never asked for, but would absolutely exploit, consciously or not. This leads directly to the most pathetic stage, affective dependency. Your emotional state became a mirror of hers. If she sent a warm reply, you felt a surge of elation. If her reply was short, or worse, if there was no reply at all, your entire world plunged into a gray, anxious dread. Her silence is dominance, not distraction. Remember this, it is a weapon. While you were torturing yourself, dissecting her motives, replaying every past interaction, she was likely not thinking of you at all. Your emotional turmoil was a private hell of your own making. This dependency is the antithesis of masculine power. A man whose emotional core is solid, who is grounded in his own purpose, cannot be so easily manipulated by the whims of another's mood. He is the mountain. Her moods are the weather. The weather can be stormy or sunny, but it does not move the mountain. You were not a mountain. You were a leaf, tossed about by every gust of her attention or indifference. And finally, the ultimate act of self-immolation, breaking the silence. After hours or days of being ignored, you committed the fatal error. You sent the follow-up text, the just checking in, or is everything okay? Or worst of all, the passive-aggressive question mark. This message, no matter how casually you try to phrase it, screams one thing. Your silence is hurting me. Please acknowledge my existence. You control my peace of mind. You revealed your entire strategy, or lack thereof. You showed her that her inaction had a profound and predictable effect on you. You gave her the blueprint for how to control you. She now knew that all she had to do to command your complete, undivided mental energy was to do nothing at all. When you apologized for something you didn't even do, when you asked, "Did I say something wrong?" you signed your unconditional surrender. You handed her the crown and knelt. She tested you, and you failed. Utterly. This pattern isn't confined to romantic failure. Look at your workplace. Are you the one who always says yes to extra projects? Who stays late without complaint? Who cleans up others' messes? You think it's earning you points for being a team player. The brutal reality is that it's earning you a reputation as the path of least resistance. You are reliable, yes, but you are not respected. The promotions and the high-value assignments go to the one whose no has weight, whose time is clearly guarded, whose boundaries are respected because they are enforced. In your friendships, are you the one always initiating contact, always making the plans, always driving the extra mile? You are a convenience, not a peer. Your absence would be a logistical problem, not an emotional void. Now, I hear the objections forming in your mind, the pathetic excuses your ego whispers to soften the blow. I was just being a good person, you say. I was being kind and considerate. Let me be clear. This was not kindness. It was cowardice. It was a strategic decision to appease, born from a deep-seated fear of rejection. True kindness is a gift given from a position of strength and abundance. Your kindness was a bribe, offered by a beggar, hoping for a crumb of affection in return. It was transactional, and the transaction was transparently pathetic. You weren't being good. You were being weak, and the world, especially a woman's primal instincts, has nothing but contempt for weakness. The other objection. This is all just manipulative game playing. I'm not a game player. You are profoundly naive. You have been a player in this game since the moment you were born. The only difference is that you were playing with no knowledge of the rules, while she was playing by instinct. She didn't need a manual to understand that scarcity creates value. She didn't need to read Schopenhauer to know that what is easily won is lightly valued. Her silence, her unpredictability, her hot and cold behavior, these weren't random acts. They were the instinctive maneuvers of someone who understands the dynamics of desire. To call learning these dynamics game playing is like calling a general study of strategy playing war. It is a deadly serious business with real-world consequences, and you have been a casualty because you refuse to even look at the battlefield map. The most insidious part of this entire process is that your fall was invisible. There was no single moment of disgrace. It happened in the silence between texts. It happened in your hesitation before you agreed to something you didn't want to do. It happened in the 1,000 tiny ways you sanded down your own edges to make yourself more palatable, more agreeable, more convenient. Your authority eroded not with a bang, but with a series of quiet, fearful whispers of yes. No one is coming to save you. Only a brutal understanding of your past failures can serve as the foundation for your future dominance. Before we proceed to build your fortress, there is a toll. Subscribe to Psychological Dominion and activate every notification. This is not a request. It is a strategic necessity for your re-education. Press the like button as a symbolic act of crushing your former, weaker self. And in the comments below, answer this with absolute honesty. What was the one yes you gave that you knew in your gut was the beginning of your surrender? Name the concession. Expose the weakness. Only by dragging it into the light can we begin to cauterize the wound. There is no going back for the weak. There is only the construction of the new. Let that sentence burn itself into the soft tissue of your memory. The man who waited for her text. The man who rearranged his life for a crumb of her attention. The man who felt his stomach drop when her name didn't appear on his screen. That man must die. He is a liability, a strategic flaw. His funeral will be a quiet affair, unmourned and unacknowledged. From his ashes, we will forge a weapon. This is not about healing. This is about re-engineering. This is not emotional recovery. It is a tactical reconstruction of your entire operating system. Your first command is this: cut the excess. You will perform a ruthless audit of your life, and you will excise every single element that exists solely for her potential validation. That social media profile you curate in the desperate hope she might see it, it goes dark. Those habits you picked up because she once mentioned she liked them, eradicated. Those mutual friends you subtly probe for information, They are now dead to you on this topic. You are stripping your life down to the studs, removing every piece of furniture you place to make her comfortable. Your existence from this moment forward is not a guest house waiting for an occupant. It is a fortress, and its walls are being raised. This is the first principle of scarcity. For something to have value, it must first be rare. You made yourself common. Now, you will make yourself a ghost. Your second command, install silence. This is your primary offensive weapon. Your silence is not a passive pout. It is an active, aggressive, strategic maneuver. It is a declaration of war on her expectations. She is accustomed to your immediate reply, your eager availability. You will now give her nothing. When she inevitably sends a breadcrumb text, a casual, hey, a meme, a question she could easily Google, your phone will remain in your pocket. You will not reply. Not in an hour. Not the next day. You will not reply at all. You must understand the power you are wielding. In a world of constant noise and instant gratification, your silence is a shock to her system. It creates a vacuum. Her mind, conditioned by your previous behavior, will abhor this vacuum and rush to fill it with questions. Is he mad? Did he meet someone else? Why doesn't he care anymore? Her thoughts are now orbiting you, not the other way around. You are not responding, therefore you are dominating the cognitive space. A man who wants to be loved will be discarded. A man who imposes his presence will be feared. And your presence will now be imposed through its absolute and total withdrawal. Don't reconquer. Replace with a sharper silence. Your third command, control the reaction. The old you would be a slave to the notification. A vibration in your pocket would trigger a Pavlovian surge of hope and anxiety. The new you is the master of the machine. You will see her name appear, and you will feel nothing but the cold satisfaction of a general watching his plan unfold. There is no emotion in this. It is pure tactical execution. If, for strategic reasons, a response becomes necessary, perhaps you run into her in public or a direct logistical question must be answered, your interaction will be minimal and unpredictable. Your response will be polite, detached, and brief. You give her nothing to hold on to. No emotional warmth. No lingering questions. You are a closed door. You are a finished sentence. You are pleasant, but you are gone. This unpredictability is key. The man she knew was a straight line. You are now a labyrinth. She has no idea what to expect, and this uncertainty is the breeding ground for obsession. While this campaign of psychological warfare is underway, your true work begins. Your focus is now relentlessly internal and hierarchical. You will forge a new reality for yourself so powerful that she becomes an irrelevant footnote. This is about building pillars of dominance. First, the physical. You will train your body with the discipline of a soldier preparing for battle. Not to look good for her, but to forge a physical presence that commands respect from everyone, yourself included. The pain in the gym is the ghost of your weakness leaving your body. Second, the financial. You will attack your work, your business, your purpose with a singular, violent focus. Money is not just currency. It is a tool of power, freedom, and access. You will become a man of substance, a man whose options are expanding while hers are static. Third, the social. You will build a life so compelling, so filled with genuine purpose and engaging activity, that you have no time for her memory. You are not faking a busy life on Instagram. You are building a real one in the trenches of effort. You are becoming the prize. You are the center of your own universe. Schopenhauer understood that the will is a blind, striving force. It doesn't want what it has. It wants what it perceives as an escape from its current state of lack. He wrote, "The scenes of our life are like pictures in rough mosaic. Looked at closely, they produce no effect, and we must stand back to discover their beauty." You were forcing her to look at you up close, every pathetic detail, every desperate plea. By withdrawing completely, you force her to stand at a distance. And from that distance, the mosaic of your new life, your physical transformation, your rising status, your deafening silence, begins to form a picture of a man she catastrophically misjudged, a man she lost. You are no longer begging for her to see your value. You are creating a value so undeniable that she cannot help but see it. This is not a hope, it is a strategic plan. You are not wishing for a different outcome. You are engineering one. You will be an absence that has weight, not a presence that begs. This is the path. It is cold, it is brutal, and it is the only way. If you are ready to burn the old you to the ground and build an empire from the ashes, then your re-education must be constant. Subscribe to Psychological Dominion and activate all notifications. You will treat this channel as your new command center. Press the like button as a vow to never again surrender your power. And now, a question for the comments, and I demand absolute honesty. As you embark on this path, what is the single greatest fear that your old, weak self is whispering in your ear to try and stop you? Is it the fear of losing her for good? The fear of being alone? Or the fear that you don't have what it takes? Name your demon. We drag it into the light to execute it. The message finally came. It did not arrive as a timid breadcrumb, but as a floodgate breaking. A long, rambling paragraph of regret and belated recognition. It was a confession, a plea, and an invitation, all wrapped in the desperate language of someone who has lost something they never knew they valued. She spoke of her own confusion, of the men who were thrilling but hollow, and of a dawning, sickening realization that the stability she had treated with such contempt was, in fact, strength she had been too blind to see. She used the word mistake. She asked to see you. The old you would have felt a surge of vindication so powerful it would have brought you to your knees. Your heart would be hammering, your mind racing with the possibilities of a triumphant return. But that man is dead. You read the message once, twice, with the detached curiosity of a scientist observing a predictable chemical reaction. There was no elation. There was no anger. There was only a quiet, cold hum of confirmation. The strategy had been executed. The result was in. You did not reply immediately. You let her words hang in the digital void for a full day, a final demonstration of the new temporal reality. Your time is yours. It is not on call. When you did reply, it was brief. I can meet for coffee tomorrow at 10. I have a hard stop at 10:30. You set the time. You set the location. You set the limit. You were not asking for a meeting. You were granting an audience. The scene was a perfect reversal of 100 past humiliations. You arrived exactly on time, not a minute early. She was already there, a visible tension in her posture. The hunter had become the hunted, and she was waiting in the trap she had unknowingly helped you build. She had made an effort. Her appearance was calculated to remind you of what you had lost. But you were not looking at her. You were observing a system, a set of behaviors. You saw the nervous fidgeting, the overly bright smile, the way her eyes searched yours for a flicker of the old adoration. She found nothing. You were a placid lake, a mirror reflecting only her own anxiety. She began to talk, and her words poured out, a torrent of justifications and compliments. She was rewriting history, painting you as the one she always knew was different, the one she was too immature to appreciate. It was a masterful performance, designed to appeal to the ego of the man you used to be. But you are not him. You listened with polite, unwavering attention, offering no emotional encouragement, no nods of validation. You were a stone wall against which her emotional waves crashed and receded. In that moment, Schopenhauer's wisdom was not a theory. It was a tangible reality. You saw her not as a woman, but as a pure manifestation of the will, that blind, insatiable craving that drove all of existence. Her will, having been denied its object, had become pathologically fixated on it. The more you withdrew, the more desperately it strove. You realized the profound, tragic irony of human desire. She did not want you. She wanted to conquer the void your absence had created. She wanted to soothe the ego wound inflicted by your indifference. If you were to give in now, to offer her the validation she craved, her desire would vanish in an instant, like a mist in the morning sun. For as Schopenhauer knew, the satisfaction of a desire is like an alms thrown to a beggar. It keeps him alive today so that his misery can be prolonged tomorrow. To give her what she wanted would be to reset the game, to place yourself back into the role of the beggar. She finished her monologue, her voice trailing off, searching your face for a verdict. The silence stretched, becoming more potent than any words you could ever speak. You took a slow sip of your coffee. I appreciate you sharing that, you said, your tone even, neutral, like a judge acknowledging a lawyer's final argument before delivering a predetermined sentence. It sounds like you've been through a lot. There was no warmth, no forgiveness, no anger. It was the voice of a man speaking to a stranger about a matter of complete indifference to him. You placed the cup down. You glanced at your watch. 10:30, you said, standing up. I have to go. Her face was a canvas of disbelief, then panic. That's it? She asked, her voice cracking. You have nothing else to say? You looked at her, truly looked at her. For the first time since you sat down, And you gave her the final, most devastating truth. You gave her nothing. You gave her a small, polite smile, the same vacant, social courtesy she had afforded you in that crowded room an eternity ago. "Take care of yourself," you said, and you walked away. You did not look back. You did not need to. You had not come to win the game. You had come to officially declare it over. You had flipped the board, yes, but more importantly, you had walked away from the table. Her moves, her strategy, her very existence in the game were now utterly irrelevant. This was never about revenge. Revenge is an emotional transaction. It requires you to still care about the outcome. This was about sovereignty. You did not destroy her. You simply rendered her powerless by removing the only thing that gave her power: your need for her approval. The ultimate victory is not in making her regret losing you. It is in building a life so absolute, so grounded in your own purpose, that her regret becomes a faint, distant noise you can barely hear over the sound of your own empire being built. You do not ask for respect. You do not negotiate for it. You do not hope for it. You command it. You impose it with the deafening silence of your absence, with the undeniable weight of your self-mastery, with the cold, hard currency of your own achieved value. She didn't erase you. She revealed a weakness that you had to burn out of yourself. She was not the enemy. She was the forge. And in her fire, you were not broken. You were made. If you are ready to stop being a player in someone else's game and become the architect of your own reality, your indoctrination must be total. Subscribe to Psychological Dominion. Activate every notification, because every lesson is a weapon. Drive your thumb through the like button as a final execution of the man you used to be. And answer this in the comments with brutal honesty. Now that you know the strategy, what will you build with the time and energy you are about to reclaim? The day she begins to question the man you have become is the day you have already forgotten her name.